Hey, what's up, world? It's your boy G Shump, everybody, Faith, baby daddy, voice of the street, man. And today we in Chicago, y'all. So it looked like Chopper 5 was up doing this regular traffic report, y'all, and actually caught a high-speed chase live on the air. I'm gonna let y'all see it. Pardon the body, y'all.
Street on the right shoulder, you saw that Chicago squad going eastbound. They're all communicating on what's called the ISBRN network. They all communicate in situations like this with each other. Look at this vehicle picking up speed now, northbound at 103rd, and again, I-57 on the shoulder. This is going to make a northbound turn, and if you ever drive I-57, this is the turn around Halstead. In a matter of about 10 seconds here, it's going to have to turn right and then head eastbound towards the Dan Ryan merge. They just said on the dispatch that they said there was a male inside, and again, this vehicle is wanted for an armed robbery earlier in the day. They're saying there's a male and a female inside. They believe that the people inside this vehicle are armed.
I don't even know if they know the chopper up there, y'all. They're doing good with the police, but that chopper, they can't shake it. And you gotta give him credit for driving, because it ain't easy to run from the police and not hit nothing, because most people panic. So he's driving pretty good.
Exactly. Now we're on the Dan Ryan. So now they just went north on the Dan Ryan, and as we all know, a lot more traffic on the Dan Ryan. So now northbound, really again picking up that speed here. Northbound Dan Ryan, we're going to come up on 95th Street here. Now I can look ahead northbound. There is no traffic on the northbound Dan Ryan. There's the CTA red line at 95th Street. You'll see the vehicle come out on the other side of that. You've got the Dan Ryan. Now again, what's different from the Dan Ryan than the other expressways, you've got exits basically every 4 blocks here. So they can exit 87th Street, 79th Street, 74th, 71st. You get the idea. Eventually you can head all the way north, and we don't see any traffic on the northbound Dan Ryan all the way up until about where the Stevenson is. So again, this is another area where this vehicle, a Hyundai that is wanted for armed robbery, can pick up a large amount of speed. And now we're exiting again here. Let's see, we are at 87th Street. So I believe they're exiting at 87th Street. And again, you see it right here as opposed to the expressway where you know it's open. These are residential streets and you don't know what's coming up, and this could absolutely cause a collision. I believe we're off of State Street or maybe a block off of this. They got off at 87th Street, went about a block, so we are about 80, coming up maybe about 83rd Street here, northbound on this residential street. Right. Exactly. Right, and I think these speed bumps are here because we're off of State Street here, and again, now the vehicle is heading eastbound, but those speed bumps are there because a lot of people take those as alternates for the Dan Ryan and tend to exceed the speed limit there because they think, oh, well, I want to save time getting off the Dan Ryan. Now the vehicle heading eastbound here, and I believe we're around 83rd Street, and trying to stay with this. I'm not sure, and I was looking behind here. We're trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out if the state police or the people who have been pursuing even know where this vehicle still is. They may have lost him because I'm trying to look behind as we stay with the vehicle, which I believe is east of around 83rd Street, and they may have lost the vehicle. So if anybody's listening in, this looks like east on 83rd Street. We're about a block or two from Martin Luther King, which is 400 east here. Again, that vehicle bailed off the Dan Ryan, and I believe this is coming up on MLK now and went eastbound across MLK. So that was Martin Luther King here, and eastbound, I believe, again, this is 83rd Street. And again, Marion, as you were talking about, this is a residential area where speed limits are about 20 or 25 miles an hour. You've got a stop sign almost at every light here. Now the vehicle going northbound, so we're at about 600 east here, northbound, in a very residential area, and now we're parked. So the vehicle was pulled in front of a home here. We're about 2 blocks east of Martin Luther King here, and we're north of 83rd Street. Looks like somebody got out of the vehicle. What's that, Matt? The cameraman's talking. Okay, so we've got one person that got out of the car. That's behind that tree there. We see in the center, and then one person that is still in the car.
Probably stashing the money on the strap, y'all.
And we can just see what happens here, but what we don't see, and we talked about this before because we are in the city of Chicago, we didn't see those lights that we saw all throughout the expressway. We've been very focused on the Hyundai here that, again, was wanted for armed robbery. So the vehicle is parked here, and again, we're about 2 blocks east of Martin Luther King. Got back in the car here now, and just north of 83rd Street. And again, don't see any police moving in at this time. Let's see if the vehicle stays here or continues to move on.
Well, they sticking together.
So the lights that we saw flashing on the expressway, and again, if you're just joining us here, as the vehicle parks again, this went up and down 394 and up and down the Bishop Ford Freeway. There were lights the whole time. Those lights appear to be gone. Now there is a vehicle, let me count my streets here, that's coming off of 83rd Street as there's 2 people inside this vehicle. Get out there on the sidewalk. There are squads that are starting to come west on 83rd Street. So we are, let's see, we're about a block east of Martin Luther King. I do see squads, and again, we can't show you that shot here because, right, one person's gone in different directions here. There are squads moving in. So we're in an apartment complex here. And we just saw something being thrown over the fence, too, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. That's what they pursued. I'm going to ask you, you can see there's a squad that just went right by him right now. And he threw something on the ground. Nick, if you can hear me, our pilot, has the Chicago Police Department helicopter, are they up flying over this? So the Chicago Police helicopter has been flying about this as well, and we've been so focused on these people that have been winded. That is important because they have the same perspective we do, which means that they, from the air, can direct the Chicago Police Department down below here to where these people are. So this is the man that we saw get out of the vehicle. Again, this was a Hyundai that was wanted for armed robbery. The Illinois State Police Network, and there you go, there's a squad pulling up right now. And let's see if we have a foot chase here. I believe we're on 83rd Street, and I believe somebody is about to be taken into custody. So this has come to an end. believe we are 83rd Street and Martin Luther King, 83rd and King Drive. So again, it looks like we're in custody. We don't, and Max, I'm going to ask my camera person because Max was following as well. We saw the other person go in the other direction, eastbound. That was off of 83rd Street, that's correct? Alright, so just to sum all of this up very quickly, this pursuit went on for about 30 or 40 minutes. It was off of Bishop Ford, I-94, went all the way south to Lansing near about 183rd Street, Glenwood Dyer, came back north on 394, all the way into about 127th Street, across to I-57 into the city, bailed off the Dan Ryan at about 83rd and went residential. Police lost the vehicles after a while. They parked, then went north on around 83rd Street, got out of the parked vehicle, one person inside heading westbound. That's the person that's been taken into custody. Looks like a man at this point. Another person went eastbound, and that person, we don't see any other squads eastbound, but they'll probably still look for that person here. This was a Hyundai that was wanted for armed robbery. One person is in custody here after a long pursuit at 83rd and King Drive, and again, we talked about it over and over again. We thought there may be a collision. This vehicle several times driving dangerously over 100 miles per hour. No collision. A lot of Illinois State Police, Cook County Police, more squads are coming into the area here near 83rd and Martin Luther King Drive. I would guess that's why we've got police heading east from here. We're going to keep an eye on that for you. We'll get back to you if we see the police moving in on that second person. So we're in it.
They looking for the second suspect, y'all. They don't know where yet.
Yeah, that was like 2 blocks east of King. So they're looking with a flashlight right now, Max. Right. If you go just, a whole bunch of them are moving and you just, yeah, I think you're on it. Okay. Alright. Yeah, so that's right what he had the flashlight out for. That's the vehicle, right?
Looking for the strap or whatever he threw, y'all.
That's 83rd Street, and that is just east of Martin Luther King Drive. So it would be like in the 400 something block of East 83rd Street.
So the police helicopter is telling me where to look too. He went right there, y'all. He was a little further down. Right up in here.
one shot of Willow Squad there on 83rd real quickly? Just, yeah, like 5 seconds of that. Alright, I'm good, thank you.
We stood by that tree, y'all, and they couldn't see him.
What's our fuel situation then?
He could have left a bag there, and somebody in the house could have came and got it.
Okay. I would say hang for a few more minutes just in case they find... They said on the Ispern dispatch that it was a female. There was 2 males, okay. Alright.
Somebody could have came out that house out when he was by the tree, and they might have been watching it live too, because he stood there. The copter couldn't see him for a minute, and when they pulled off, they could have came out and got whatever they had, hopefully. So they shouldn't have no guns. They gonna get rid of the keys, and now they just got to deal with the situation, whatever they did earlier. Either way it goes, it's gonna be a long day for them, y'all. Part about being in a high-speed chase, y'all, is they don't stop looking for your ass. They don't stop following you. They don't give up. It ain't like they go.
What we do? What time were you thinking of?
I guess they finna stop, y'all. They going off the air. They running low on gas, but it's basically a wrap, y'all. Anyway, I just wanted y'all to see that, man. It's your boy G Shrimp, by Faith, Baby Daddy, Voice the Street. I'm planting 9, digging later. Here go another one up here, y'all. There's another angle of it. I can show y'all that since we still here.
Now taxis? It's getting the TurboTax app. And filing your taxes yourself 100% free if you didn't file with us last year. Now this is taxes. File free in the app by
We got some breaking news. Let's go right up to Mike Lorber in Sky 5 over this high-speed chase. Mike? This has been going on for about 20 minutes. We've been listening to the dispatch on Ispern. This is a Hyundai SUV that, according to the Illinois State Police dispatch, is wanted for armed robbery earlier this day. This pursuit we heard on the Ispern started off the Bishop Ford Freeway. That's 94. Went back and forth and Sibley, went down to the south suburbs. Almost a collision about 3 minutes ago with this vehicle, as you can see, an extremely high rate of speed. Turned around at Glenwood Dyer Road. Currently, this is northbound 394, and we are about a mile before I-80. This vehicle, I would say at this point, is exceeding about 100 miles an hour. There's one, Max is going to stay with the vehicle here, so what you cannot see is behind it is the Illinois State Police and several suburbs that are coming up on this as well. Several times they were almost able to get to this vehicle, haven't been able to do it as of yet. Behind this vehicle, there are probably about a dozen squads.
They were deep in the suburbs.
So now we're northbound on 394. There's a lot of interchanges here where this vehicle can go several directions. If they go east, they go towards Indiana. If they go west, they'll head towards the Tri-State Tollway, or they may continue northbound into the city, and it looks like that's their plan right now. So this has been ongoing again. This is a Hyundai, and they're saying from this point that this vehicle was wanted for armed robbery. Now it's heading towards the city, so we're northbound 394. As you can see, driving erratically here. This is the Bishop Ford. This
part we didn't see, y'all.
Northbound as we get up towards about 167th Street. Again, a lot of vehicles behind this. This vehicle will eventually maybe head up towards the city, and a whole network is waiting for them. What typically happens here is the state police will notify other suburbs. For example, this is heading up towards Dalton, Calumet City, those suburbs may enact their people here to try to catch this vehicle ahead. And again, that's almost happened. There was almost a collision down in Lansing near Cottage Grove, down about Glenwood Lansing Road. Again, this vehicle wanted for armed robbery. They did say in the dispatch they believe there are 2 people inside and they're armed, and they were heading northbound here in the Bishop Ford, right around 159th Street.
And now we are clearly in rush hour too, Mike, and the traffic is getting heavier even as we've been watching this car weaving its way through. He's behind someone right now, just wove his way in front of a semi and is going along the shoulder. So this is clearly a extremely dangerous situation, particularly with the people being armed. Now, as they get closer to this difficult traffic situation, I know every jurisdiction may have a different rule about a chase. What do you know about what we're dealing with, specifically right now, as it deals with the Illinois State Police, since they had jurisdiction on the interstate?
That is a solid point, Marion. So now we're northbound at Sibley Boulevard. City limits are about a mile and a half away.
Sibley, that's 147, y'all.
Cross over the Cal-Sag. It is technically in the city of Chicago. I can tell you this, though. I'm looking up ahead now, and I see a lot of other vehicles. And again, we don't want to lose the vehicle. This is not an easy shot to keep for our camera person, Max, here. But a lot of squads are up ahead as well. Typically, in this case, because this is on the highway, this is from the Illinois State Police. We don't know where this started from, but it was down here in the South Burbs. They will continue to pursue. The city of Chicago doesn't often pursue because they are worried and have had issues before where people not involved in the pursuit have been hit either by the police or by the pursued vehicle, causing damages. So again, let's resum all this up for you. This has been going up and down the Bishop Ford. We picked it up here around 147th in the Bishop Ford. It went all the way down south to Lansing. This vehicle, a Hyundai, wanted for armed robbery. Of course, this dispatch, and again, this is what we call the Steel Bridge here. So now we are northbound in the city limits here, just crossed into the city limits. A lot of troopers here seem to be heading northbound after this vehicle, and now we're northbound of the Bishop Ford. That's I-94 near 130th. You've only got about 3 ramps where you can get off here before you actually get into the Dan Ryan Expressway, and there'll be a lot more traffic there. So northbound right now on the Bishop Ford, right around 130th, we can see 2 state troopers that are trailing at about a half a mile. But again, this vehicle has been exceeding at several occasions over 100 miles an hour, driving very erratically. You can see tailgating that SUV that's in the left lane, weaving from the left lane to the right lane, trying to make its way through. So now we're northbound of the 130th, and again, we'll see if they keep pursuing here as this vehicle enters into the Chicago city limits.
And the traffic is getting heavier and heavier, which of course makes this a lot more dangerous. He has come close several times and is weaving in and out of some of these semi-tractor trailers, heavy-duty tailgating, and clearly going very, very quickly. That's got to be the major concern right now.
Exit?
I think that might be the exit to the right. Yeah, you're saying he got him right there.
Right, so we're heading at 130th Street.
Man, this one behind them, man. You didn't see this, y'all.
Westbound 130th Street.
So now we're in the city of Chicago, on the streets of Chicago.
Right, so this is the far southern limit of the city of Chicago. The 130th Street, you go about a mile south of here, that's where the Cal-Sag is. That is the southern limit of the city of Chicago. The vehicle is now westbound at 130th, heading from the Bishop Ford. Will eventually head towards Indiana. Now, about a mile ahead here is a very dangerous turn where you have to go sharp, basically westbound to Indiana, and then you go north. That is an area that is normally stopped up and a difficult turn, so something might come to a head here near 130th in Indiana. As you keep going, if you keep going westbound here, you'll eventually get back into the suburbs. You can see there's some road work here on 130th.
And now he's going the opposite direction.
I'll show you behind.
He's going the opposite
direction. It looks like he's going to try to turn here, almost hit another vehicle that's heading eastbound, and maybe trying to make a turn. But again, where we can't show you behind this, because Max has to stay on the SUV here. Again, that is a Hyundai that is wanted for armed robbery, according to Isburn. Now we've got maybe about a half a dozen troopers with lights flashing here, going westbound at 130th. So we're coming up to that railroad interchange here. This is 130th in Indiana. You go underneath, and we'll have to turn either right or left here. You've got a lot of vehicles also that come north or south. This is a dangerous intersection as it is, so let's see what the vehicle does here. Alright, so it's going to get northbound. This is on Indiana, and again, we're still in the city of Chicago. And then the vehicle, as the state police are getting closer and closer, the vehicle, state police are right behind it as it has to navigate these turns. 3 blocks to 127th Street. We're west on 127th Street, and the police are close behind here. So let's keep going west on 127th Street, and again, all of this is very, very dangerous. A lot of traffic in the other direction. There's a school bus that's slowing, and it almost went into the back of the school bus, trying to get around the school bus here. This is a dangerous situation. Let's hope that school bus isn't occupied with kids. The vehicle able to get by here as the police continue this pursuit. This has been ongoing. We've been listening to this, I believe, since about 4:15. It's been ongoing before this, and again, it's traveled probably north and southbound another 15 or 20 minutes, and maybe about 20 to 30 miles here. Went from all the way from where we are now, near 130th, and now this vehicle is really picking up speed in the straightaway here on west of 127. Went all the way down to Lansing, almost collided with a few vehicles, came all the way back north on the 394 here to the Bishop Ford. Now we're at 127. There is an officer waiting for this vehicle here at 127th and Halstead, and that is coming up in a matter of seconds here, so we'll see what happens. They have to stop for the light at Halstead in traffic, and there is another squad that is right there.
Responding officer, Edwin spotted top of the flash boxer.
Just missed that. I believe that's Calumet City. That's coming in 127th and Halstead. You'll notice that a lot of the pursuees here are either Illinois State Police or suburban jurisdictions here, as this vehicle keeps going to 127th Street. Now again, we're in a city limits situation where we're going to cross I-57 in a matter of minutes here. The north side of I-57 here on 127th Street is Chicago. South is Blue Island. 127th westbound, and you can see how fast this vehicle is going. It is taking it, even with traffic, and we're at 127th and Troop now. It's taking about 3 minutes to get from 127th all the way from the Bishop Ford, that's I-94, towards I-57 here. This is a busy intersection. 127th and Ashland here. We're by the expressway.
Yeah, he can get on the expressway now, y'all. You know where he's going, y'all.
Here, let's see if they jump on north I-57 towards the city here.
This is a very frightening situation, and at what point do you think there may be a shift in tactic here, Mike? I don't know. We don't know how far back they are because you can't change, and we don't want you to change the shot.
We've seen them gotten close a couple times, but you imagine a significant amount of coordination between the agencies here to try to communicate a possible path of where this person might go, even though there doesn't seem to appear to be any sort of plan. It of course, got way more dangerous when you get off the interstate because it's much more close quarters, and one slight miscalculation can mean a really bad crash. And then you also have this as well, when he's back on I-57.
And you've got this speed, and anytime you've got this level of speed, the slightest mistake can be deadly. And it's a very frightening situation for those around them. They can't necessarily see what's coming, and this person is definitely driving erratically on the shoulder.
There is a large curve that's coming up here that again is another dangerous situation where I've covered a lot of accidents. Northbound 57, when you go north of Monterey to 111th Street, there's a big curve that comes up on 107th Street. If you're driving without traffic, it can be very, very dangerous. And then we're about a mile away from this either turning into the Dan Ryan, and I don't want to predict here, but if I had to, I would say this vehicle will probably head east as 57 goes east and then go right back south on I-94 rather than heading into the city. They are still pursuing very vigorously, though behind. We see 2 state troopers that are trailing here as safely as they can. They're basically about a quarter mile behind. We also see squads now above on 99th Street, and there's that curve there. It's going underneath 107th Street on the right shoulder. You saw that Chicago squad going eastbound. They're all communicating on what's called the ISPERN network. They all communicate situations like this with each other. Look at this vehicle picking up speed now, northbound the 103rd, and again, I-57 on the shoulder. This is going to make a northbound turn, and if you ever drive I-57, this is the turn around Halsted. In a matter of about 10 seconds here, it's going to have to turn right and then head eastbound towards the Dan Ryan merge. They just said on the dispatch that they said there was a male inside, and again, this vehicle is wanted for armed robbery. Earlier in the day, they're saying there's a male and a female inside. They believe that the people inside this vehicle are armed.
Riveting to watch this, but so frightening. And I worry, honestly, the most about the people that they are approaching. They have no idea what's coming their way, except someone that's moving very quickly. And how many times have you been on the expressway and had some really fast driver come up on you and scare you, and your reactions become critical? So it's really a frightening moment right now just to watch this and where they're going to go and how police can even manage this. How, what kind of strategies they have to use to try to be able to handle this situation, because we have seen what happens when these chases go horribly wrong.
And in a crash. Yeah. And that's so often the case.
Exactly. Now we're on the Dan Ryan. So now they just went north on the Dan Ryan, and as we all know, a lot more traffic on the Dan Ryan. So now northbound really again picking up that speed here. Northbound Dan Ryan, we're going to come up on 95th Street here. Now I can look ahead northbound. There is no traffic on the northbound Dan Ryan. There's the CTA red line at 95th Street. You'll see the vehicle come out on the other side of that. You've got the Dan Ryan. Now again, what's different from the Dan Ryan than the other expressways, you've got exits basically every 4 blocks here. So they can exit 87th Street, 79th Street, 74th, 71st. You get the idea. Eventually you can head all the way north, and we don't see any traffic on the northbound Dan Ryan all the way up until about where the Stevenson is. So again, this is another area where this vehicle, a Hyundai that is wanted for armed robbery, can pick up a large amount of speed. And now we're exiting again here. Let's see, we are at 87th Street. So I believe they're exiting at 87th Street.
So you're getting into a residential area, and this is rush hour still, and who knows what the circumstances are. School is in session, so there are potentially schools nearby that could be part of the problem. We're on residential streets now where you don't have, you have to slow down at each street to make sure that you don't run into anybody a lot of times on these side streets. So there can be pedestrians making their way. Fortunately, it's cold. Maybe not as many people may be out walking the streets, but still, you're in a residential area, and he's still going well beyond the speed limit. Maybe not 100 miles an hour, but well beyond the speed limit.
And again, you see it right here as opposed to the expressway where you know it's open. These are residential streets, and you don't know what's coming up, and this could absolutely cause a collision. I believe we're off of State Street, or maybe a block off of this. They got off at 87th Street, went about a block, so we are about coming up maybe about 83rd Street here, northbound on this residential street.
Yeah, you just saw him go over a speed bump, so you're in a clear residential street dealing with speed bumps. This makes it even more frightening. I don't know.
Right.
People are watching, are they going to alert people? And that's one of those things. There's no way for drivers and residents necessarily, unless they're watching television right now, to know what's going through their neighborhood. And other drivers as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and I think these speed bumps are here because we're off of State Street here, and again, now the vehicle is heading eastbound, but those speed bumps are there because a lot of people take those as alternates for the Dan Ryan and tend to exceed the speed limit there because they think, oh, well, I want to save time getting off the Dan Ryan. Now the vehicle heading eastbound here, and I believe we're around 83rd Street, and trying to stay with this. I'm not sure, and I was looking behind here, we're trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out if the state police or the people who have been pursuing even know where this vehicle still is. They may have lost him because I'm trying to look behind as we stay with the vehicle, which I believe is east of around 83rd Street, and they may have lost the vehicle. So if anybody's listening in, this looks like east on 83rd Street. We're about a block or two from Martin Luther King, which is 400 east here. Again, that vehicle bailed off the Dan Ryan, and I believe this is coming up on MLK now. and went eastbound across MLK. So that was Martin Luther King here, and eastbound, I believe, again, this is 83rd Street. And again, Marion, as you were talking about, this is a residential area where speed limits are about 20 or 25 miles an hour. You've got a stop sign almost at every light here. Now the vehicle going northbound, so we're at about 600 east here, northbound, in a very residential area, and now we're parked. So the vehicle was pulled in front of a home here. We're about 2 blocks east of Martin Luther King here, and we're north of 83rd Street. Looks like somebody got out of the vehicle. What's that, Matt? The cameraman's talking. Okay, so we've got one person that got out of the car. That's behind that tree there. We see in the center, and then one person that is still in the car. And we can just see what happens here, but what we don't see, and we talked about this before, because we are in the city of Chicago, we didn't see those lights that we saw all throughout the expressway. We've been very focused on the Hyundai here that, again, was wanted for armed robbery.
Well, that's it, y'all. Yeah.